Good afternoon. Good first day in full pads. Some live work for the first time. That was fun to see that, and I think we're off to a good start. It's certainly not as clean as we hope it'll be at the end of spring, but there's a lot of great effort out here, and right now that's probably the most important thing.
How much does the intensity ratchet up when the full pads come on?
It's a combination of the full pads and the live periods. When the players know, which they do know before we come out here, that there's going to be some live periods in practice, there's definitely a different mentality that goes into effect right away when you're playing live football.
From your perspective, when things get a little heated in practice, is that a good thing, or is it a line, or just what's your take on that?
Football's an emotional game, so it doesn't surprise me that it happens. I'd be surprised actually if it didn't happen. What's important to me is that when it happens, it gets diffused, and then we can move on to the next play. It's certainly not things that we want to have all the time, but in a physical, emotional game like this, they're certainly going to happen.
What have you learned about your quarterbacks 1 week in
We got a lot of work to do. Every one of us got a lot of work to do, and we're still in the process of installing what we're doing. Today was the first time we did third down. The defense has some blitzes in, but not all the blitzes. So there's a lot more coming for them on the install side of it. There's a lot more coming from them in terms of what the defense is going to try to do to them. So we got a long way to go still.
Did anybody on the line, defensive or offensive, pop out to you with the pads on now?
Well, I think today was probably the first time Sebastian had an extended period of time to go out there and play football, and I thought he showed up. It's tough to see before you look at the film, but I thought he showed up a little bit. I thought 53 showed up a little bit. Those are good things for us. And guys like Darius and Dewani, they're known commodities. They're working, and they're going to be better football players next year than they were. But I already got a pretty good feel for what they are and what they'll be. But some of those other guys, it was good to see them show up today.
How about you have Wilkins and Sebastian at nose tackle. Neither guys played a whole lot, but both thought of pretty highly. How's that combination? What do they give you?
They have big athletic bodies. Sebastian's ahead of Kevin right now for sure. Kevin spent most of the year on the scout team, so Sebastian had the advantage of practicing with the defense, playing a little bit in games. It's a big advantage. But both those guys are big, 290-pound plus athletic bodies, and they're doing a good job of it.
What is the assessing the early enrollees for the first week? How they've acclimated?
It's hard. It's hard. I mean, they're behind everybody else. The best compliment I can give them is that they don't really stick out in the workouts, in the practices. They're doing a good job of knowing where to be, practicing at the tempo that we practice at. That's a compliment to them. The football part, that'll come. This is almost like a bonus semester for them.
Do you keep the goals the same from 1 week to the next in spring camp? I mean, what are some of the goals for next week?
The goals right now, everybody individually is trying to be a better player. So that part will not change. My goal for the team is that we can stay on the schedule. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm hoping that the players can absorb what we're doing. They have less time in between practices than they have in the past. So we're putting a lot on them mentally. So my goal is that we can continue the installation rate that we're in, so we make sure we get everything in that we want.
Center specific, Kyle, Nelson, Muller, whoever else is working at center. How are they doing with the other parts of center besides blocking the reads and the calls and things like that?
Yeah, we were doing well today. We probably took a little bit of a step back. Today was the first, with third down going in today. Some of the guys who didn't have the experience of playing in there, I didn't think operated as well as they had the first couple of days. But now they get a chance to look at it and then come back on Monday and do it better.
You mentioned JPO briefly. What went into the move full-time to defensive tackle, and how do you think he'll handle that?
It's really just a matter of building depth on the line, making sure we can get the right people in the game where we need them to. He's got experience playing defensive end. He can go out there and play if we want to. But right now, we put him inside. It gives us a little bit more experienced guy in there. So when Darius isn't in there, we're not going immediately to a freshman. We're going to a guy who's got some battle experience for us.
Has there been any extra buzz on campus this week with a lot of visitors because of the weekend and everything?
Yeah, really. The end of this week through next week, we'll have a lot of recruits, a lot of families on campus, and it's enjoyable during spring practice to have that. I think the players enjoy it when there's people on the sidelines, and they know a lot of them, or they're from high schools that they're familiar with. So it definitely adds a little bit of juice to practice.
Coach, it seemed like the defense won the physical battles today. What did you see from some individual players on the defensive side?
I don't know that they won the physical battles. I think what you saw is that schematically they're a little bit ahead. We're a little bit more experienced in the front seven than the offense is, certainly on the offensive line right now with young guys playing in different spots throughout the practice. So they're a little bit ahead. So I think the physicality on both sides of the ball I was really pleased with. I didn't think we played as clean offensively as we need to, that's for sure. That'll get better as we go.
Time for two more questions.
obviously Alan Lucy's back, but you had Snyder as that backup long snapper for a long time. Trying anything different at long snapper behind Lucy?
Yeah, you saw. I think Stonkus is over there working. Bonagura is over there working. We got to build some depth behind Allen as we go, and we'll add some people also in the fall. Hopefully, that can help us.
Is that a competition, or the long snapping? Is that a competition? I mean,
we've got a returning starter and some guys who've never done it, so I don't know if that could actually qualify as a competition. But if anybody on this football team can do a better job than the person who's starting, then they're going to get an opportunity to do it.
How do you see the gains made in the weight room in the off season manifest itself so far?
Yeah, I see it in the physicality up front. You know, the bodies are bigger and more powerful on both sides of the ball. I think ultimately that's going to be good for us as long as we're able to maintain our athleticism, which watching it right now, I feel like we have. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.